Let's talk about the author, not the author of Fault in Our Stars. The
Willem Dafoe's
character, Peter Van Houten.
Mm-hmm.
There's not a ton to say about his first appearance in this. He's a dick.
Yeah.
Right? He's a different guy than when he wrote the book. Now, there is an explanation for, one could almost even argue justification for why he's
acts the way he does.
Yeah. Why he's a drunk, why he's shut himself off from emotion and humans.
There's an understanding.
His daughter died of cancer. He wrote a book about it. He doesn't want to talk about the book.
Because his daughter's the main
it's about his
character
daughter.
in the book.
Yeah, and it hurts and it, whatever. So, you get that. I think that whole thing's a fun twist because it's up until this point, it's like, it's the Make-A-Wish. It's the we're gonna go and he paid for the dinner and it's like and he's writing us back and it's just this going to be this incredible highlight of Hazel's life. And yeah, it's such a gut punch that he's
a jerk.
But I do want to talk about I think there's some interesting meat on the bone about his
even in
return.
That first interaction. Even that first interaction though, it's fun that fun being an operative word here. Because there was nothing fun about the interaction or what comes of it later or whatever. Anyway,
satisfying.
A satisfying kind of lesson that these two kids learn from that interaction and what he's telling them,
right?
And about the infinities. There's always a bigger infinity.
Yeah.
And then she kind of takes that into the eulogy she writes for him and shares with him. Yeah.
So then he comes back and he's still drinking. He's got a flask with him at the funeral.
Yeah.
Fair to say that he's softened a little? Right. I mean, he came.
Yeah.
He got on a plane and flew halfway around the world.
If he hasn't softened, he's gained more understanding.
Right. So is he redeemed?
I would say it's hard to say he was ever damned to begin with. If you're using the term redeemed, the opposite of redeemed is damned.
I mean,
he was never a damned character to begin with. He was
I don't know.
He was a broken character. He was a broken person, a broken character being pestered by kids about not things that don't matter to him.
Yes, but
and aren't and bring up horrible pain for him.
Right, but that's not how he's presented to us initially.
Not initially. But that doesn't make it so.
And B, I don't think that not every time that we use the word redeemed is it in antithesis to damned.
Well, I
right? Like we could say, oh, Carl was 10 minutes late, but he brought chips, so he's redeemed himself. Well, you were never damned. You were 10 minutes late.
So I don't know. I just feel like redeemed doesn't feel like the right word. Like he's not.
He asks Gus when Gus isn't as smart as Willem Dafoe would like him to be. He asks Gus if the cancer's progressed to his brain. Like he's not just.
He's a jerk.
Troubled. He's an asshole.
Yeah, he's a drunk jerk.
And assholes are eligible for redemption. So the question is, did he redeem himself as a character?
If I concede and allow the terminology of is he redeemed, then I would say yes.
It's wild to me that that's something that needs
I don't know.
concession.
It's weird that I'm hung up on it. I'll agree, but I feel like it's like there's an understanding on us as the viewer that's gained in that second interaction with him.
Sure.
And that understanding gives us more grace.
But I mean, I think everyone who's a piece of shit is probably a piece of shit for some reason, right? Like, it's not just a piece of shit for shits and giggles. And even if in their mind they're a piece of shit for shits and giggles, something has happened to them that makes them think that that's a shits and giggles thing, right? So like, it goes back to the conversation I had with you. I don't know if it was last episode or when it was, right? It'd be the things like a serial killer. Definitely someone who you could have a question about whether or not this person is redeemable. Well, yeah, but there's probably something that's gotten them to the point. They're not just born a serial killer.
Right. But I think the big thing here in this case is when we find out Willem Dafoe's character had a daughter who died of cancer, and not only was the daughter who died of not only had a daughter who died of cancer, but the daughter was this daughter was the main character in this novel he created to help him grieve.
Yeah.
Now all of a sudden you go back to that first meeting with him.
Sure.
He's not the jerk. These kids are the jerks.
No.
Oh, yeah.
How are these kids? Okay, hang on.
Yeah.
How are these kids jerks?
Because they're prying and they're pushing and he doesn't want it. They're pushing for something he does not want to give them.
He invited them there based on her asking.
No. So So in his email, he did kind of cordially say, if you're ever in, right? But he's in Amsterdam. She's got cancer in the US. He's not expecting them to pop in.
And then the Make-A-Wish genies contact him to set it up, and he doesn't say no.
My interpretation of the scenes that follow with him and his assistant is the assistant is making a lot of decisions he's vaguely aware of.
She says, you invited them here. The assistant says to him when they first arrive, I think the only thing that the assistant has done that they don't know about are all the little bells and whistles and treat, like the buying them dinner.
Right.
Right? It's that stuff. Yeah, no. He is, whether he chose to use that as grief or not, as like a grief coping thing, regardless of his motivations for writing this book. When you put it, all of that is irrelevant when you create a piece of work and you put it out into the world. That piece of work becomes popular, garners a fan base. You become a name people know. You have fans. Now, you're not beholden to your fans, but fans aren't jerks for writing you fan mail. They're not jerks for wanting to meet you or ask you questions. You don't have to. That's your prerogative. But then when you invite them, both directly via email and then indirectly by agreeing to let them stop kicking, you piece of shit. But no, these kids are not jerks.
I don't know.
Not at all.
I feel like, okay. He invites them, yes. I don't think he truly thinks they're going to come. Because when they show up at his door, he's shocked.
Yeah,
He's like, what do you mean they're here?
Because he's a drunken idiot then. Because Make-A-Wish is bringing them. Make-A-Wish is like, it's one thing that he wouldn't have fully believed it or even remotely thought it was ever going to actually happen when he said, if you're ever in Amsterdam, drop in. That's a weird thing to say. That's a weird, I guess, maybe phony thing to say in the first place if you are, in fact, not wanting to interact with anyone. But whatever. Excuse me. I'll let bygones be bygones. Once Make-A-Wish contacts you and says, we're going to fly these people here to see you. Remember the people who have very specifically asked you these questions. In Hazel, in her email, I know these aren't big questions. I know they're not, blah, blah, blah. But they're questions I want answers to. Sounds great. I would love to give you these, but I can't give the jovially answers. I can't give them to you in writing because it may constitute that would constitute a sequel, blah, blah, blah. However, if you're ever in Amsterdam, feel free to stop in. If I ever meet you in person, I will give you these answers. Person who has just professed your huge fandom for me. Then, a couple weeks later, or whatever the timeline is, Make-A-Wish contacts him and says, hey, these people would like to come meet you. Excellent.
I don't think he's saying excellent.
Then say no.
But it's like you saying no to somebody with cancer.
Having the people with cancer,
he probably feels between a rock and a hard place.
So then, what he does is he has them show up and starts
treats
taking
them like jerks.
pot shots at them.
I'm not saying he treats them well.
Okay, and that's fine.
But
we're both on the same page that he is justified in being a bitter old ass. However, your statement, I cannot let your statement that the kids are the jerks, I can't let that go because that's crap. That's total crap. Total crap. The kids are not the jerks. Not even when they start, not even when she knocks the glass out of his hand. At that point, he's earned it.
You don't think even unwittingly they're being insensitive?
No. No.
Knowing that what it's all about.
Sure, but if it's impossible, it's one thing of like, oh, sorry, I didn't realize. It's another thing if like, well, that's information that you've never put out there. And then invited us here to talk about right? Had they bumped into him on the street and he had not invited the conversation, then I still don't think they're jerks, but I think unwittingly coming on too strong or unwittingly being insensitive, I don't know. There's more of an argument to be made there.
I don't know. I feel like...
But the fact that he invites them to have that conversation with them.
This is what I feel like has happened with him. He gets an email from a fan and he responds. And his response is this fan wants answers to these questions. Questions that he's not comfortable answering because it's too painful.
Right, but invites them to come.
Because it's too personal.
But invites them to come ask anyways.
But that invitation is false in my mind. The first one. He never intends for them to come.
But not the second one.
He essentially puts a fishing line in the water with a hook and no bait.
Yeah.
He doesn't want anybody to come. He doesn't want them to bite.
Yeah.
The fish bites anyway. He doesn't want to fight the fish, but the fish is on the hook. He can't. Okay. So he's got to reel it in.
Still doesn't make the kids jerks, right? So here's a is it a simile or a metaphor or I never know, but or what's the one that it starts with an A? Not a metaphor, but a analogy. I don't know.
The fishing thing I did was an analogy.
Here's another scenario. Let's say you and I live 10 hours apart.
Sure.
Right? It's been 6 years. We've largely lost contact. We strike up a conversation one day on Facebook. You say, hey, next time you're in town, and I never come to town, or wherever you've moved somewhere that
We're
never
10
been
hours
to.
apart.
Yeah. And it's unlikely in your mind that I will ever be in the town that you're in. You say, hey, if you're ever in town, stop in for a couple beers. Right?
Mm-hmm.
What you haven't told me is that you're a recovered or recovering or struggling alcoholic, and the last thing that you need is for me to show up and have a couple beers. Couple weeks pass. I either find myself in town by coincidence, or I go, you know what? I used to not mind Carl. And so I drive 10 hours. And I show up with the beers. Am I a jerk? No. There was something about you I didn't know. That's not my fault. It's your fault for concealing and and not only your fault for concealing, but your fault for directly inviting me to come and do the thing that would be bad for you.
Right.
And
okay.
All I've done is accept an invitation.
But in your scenario,
yep.
You show up with the beers.
Yep.
And I go, oh no, I don't. Sorry, I don't want a beer. I'm good. And you're like, no, you said we'd have a beer, and you start pushing me to have a beer. And I'm like, no, dude, maybe my alcoholism is too painful for me to talk about. I don't want to have to explain it. I just don't. So I'm just saying, dude, I don't want to have a beer. I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to drink. Let's go do something else. And you're just pushing me like, no, I want to have a beer with my buddy. Let's have a beer.
Yeah,
drink this
but
beer.
that's not quite. I think we would need to sit down.
I feel like that's what's happening. That's what I feel like's happening.
Yeah,
he's saying, I don't want to answer your questions, and they keep pushing. We came all this way to get these answers. Give us these answers.
No, but
I want to know. It's not. They're not important characters. It's not important to the main character. I just want to know what happens to these characters that are still alive.
Yes, but it's not until halfway through he's already being a dick and taking shots at them and like being weird with his.
Yeah, and I'm saying like his treatment of them is not legitimate.
Yeah.
I've already said that. But they become inappropriate. Not and they may not they don't know the full story.
I still disagree.
But he's saying no and they're still pushing. And I don't think that they need to have all the answers about why he's saying no.
Okay, but
he is saying I don't want to tell you.
Right.
And he's saying it in really weird, convoluted ways.
Right. Okay. So,
but he's not answering.
So
he doesn't want to answer.
Let me ask
and
you.
And they keep pushing him.
Let me ask you a question that I already know the answer to. And you're a goddamn liar if you say anything other than what I already know the answer is. Let's say, right, that... Let's say you were just dying. It wasn't... the information was not publicly available anywhere. And there was a question that always, like, it was just burning you about Star Wars, right? Something you just really needed to know about Star Wars. And you take it upon yourself, you're going to write George Lucas. Because even though George Lucas doesn't own Star Wars anymore, this specifically is a George Lucas.
He's the man with the answers.
Yeah, because it pertains to part of the Star Wars that he was involved with, right?
Right.
And sure. George Lucas writes you back and says,
"Who killed Aunt May and Uncle?"
Yeah, whatever it is, yeah. Right? Aunt
Peru, and
yeah,
Uncle
and
Owen.
Uncle Owen. That's a
Aunt May is Spider-Man.
I mean, that's a stupid question, but sure, let's say that's the question. And George Lucas writes you back and says, "Oh, Carl,
Well, there's fan theories that Boba Fett did it.
Right. Carl, I can't tell you through, whatever. I was busy working on my museum and stuff, but you want to. This is a terrible George Lucas, but it's not, it's kind of, I'm in the ballpark. But anyway, says, Carl, I would love for you to come to Skywalker Ranch, right? Come to Skywalker Ranch and I will tell you. Great. You hop on a plane. You hop on a plane and you fly to Skywalker Ranch. And you show up and you're sitting in it. Oh yeah, hey Carl. And you're sitting there in George Lucas's friggin' living room across from him. And you say, okay. First of all, this is amazing to meet you. I'm a big fan of Star Wars, a big fan of you. This is incredible. Thank you so much. So who killed Uncle Owen and Aunt Beru? And he goes, you know what? That doesn't interest me. I've decided not to tell you. You're telling me that your response, that the appropriate response in that situation, knowing the effort that's been put in to accept the invitation that he's extended, your response in that situation is to go, all right, man, yeah, fair enough. Anyways, I guess I'll be going. Bullshit.
Oh yeah,
bullshit.
You'd be upset.
You start pushing. You were like, really? I came all this way. You said you were going to tell me. Yeah, but you know what? Star Wars doesn't interest me. And you're like, okay, I get that, but like I'm a really big Star Wars fan, and you said I could. Why are you pushing?
But back to our the movie we watched, and the situation Willem Dafoe's character was actually in, which was a lot more personal than just a story he wrote.
Well, sure, right? But in this scenario, let's say George Lucas's parents were killed, and he wrote this in. No, but to make it more equal.
Okay, here.
But you don't know that as a fan.
If the kids weren't jerks even a little bit,
yeah,
then why does she feel so crappy when she realizes that the main character of the book is her daughter? Is his daughter.
She doesn't. She throws him out of the car still.
No.
She said, no. You are a drunk and a fit.
When she realizes it, she goes, oh, crap.
No.
I'm sorry for your loss.
Right. She says, I am sorry for your loss. She feels like crap. Her emotional state is that she just walked from watching Gus get lowered into the ground. She's already in tears. She's already whatever. She is going back to her mom knowing that she's a good, respectful human being. She goes, I'm very sorry for your loss. Now, will you please get out of my car? And then proceeds to call him a drunk and a failure, yells at him, and kicks him out of the car. She does not feel like crap whatsoever. She does not feel any... She doesn't feel like she owes this guy
I feel like there was
anything.
More to that scene.
No, he keeps pushing, and she goes, no, get out of my car. And he's like, what I'm trying to... And she's like, I don't care what you're trying to do. You are a drunk and a failure.
I could have swore there was a moment in that scene where she's... No. Oh, man.
She pauses and apologizes for his loss, but it's not a, oh my God, I've been so wrong. No, get out of my car. I am sorry that happened to you. I truly am. Because no one should have to go through that. However,
I really want to watch that scene.
Get out of my car. I think it's on Netflix.
Yeah.
I
don't have Netflix.
Anyway.